you don't need energy to produce output. You just need to put machines. And I mean, this is where neoclassical economics is so dangerous, because they became divorced from the whole physical world. Okay, so their model of output, the main model they used to call the Cobb-Douglas production function, and that says output is a function of labor and capital and technology. Okay, no energy. Now, my little insight that got me into this area in the first place, so I wanted to say, well, that's wrong. Energy has to play a central role. How can you bring it in? And one of my favourite little sayings that originated a new approach for me in economics was to say, labour without energy is a corpse. Capital without energy is a sculpture. So you have to have energy as an input. And if you have zero energy in, you'll get zero products out the other side. But in their models, you can have zero energy in and produce tons of output out the other side. So they're mentally divorced from the physicality of the real world. And therefore they can come up with these models and not even realize how absurd they are. And I'll give you a quote. This is the quote from that paper. Let's say, Table 5 shows a sectoral breakdown of United States national income, where the economy is subdivided by sensitivity to greenhouse warming. The most sensitive sectors are likely to be those such as agriculture, where output depends in a significant way upon climatic variables. At the other extreme are activities such as cardiovascular surgery or microprocessor fabrication in clean rooms, which are controlled in carefully controlled environments that will not be directly affected by climate change. Our estimate is that approximately 3% of US national output is produced in highly sensitive sectors, another 10% in moderately sensitive, and about 87% in sectors that are negligibly affected by climate change. In other words, all you need is a roof. You guys got a roof? No worries. I mean, it's insanely stupid. It's beyond parody how bad this stuff is. And that's what horrifies me.
How did he derive his models? I don't want to lose that.
Yeah, the models were based on what's taken over neoclassical economics since the so-called rational expectations revolution is the work of a polymath in the early 20th century called Ramsey. And Ramsey built a model, what he called a model to work out the optimum savings rate for an economy. And that has growth occurring, again, because of capital and labor being combined together. And this approach, again, assumes equilibrium. Now, when you look at the Ramsey model, it literally talks about a bliss point in the far future. And that bliss point is where the rate of change of head per capita consumption and the rate of change of the capital labor ratio stabilize. Okay? And that the equilibrium of that system is what's called the saddle node. Now, there's three basic types of equilibrium. You have a stable one, which is a bit like a bowl. You throw a ball bearing into a bowl, it'll end up in the bottom of the bowl. Or you turn it upside down, and it's a hill. You throw it on the hill, it'll slide down. A saddle, if you are a magician who can throw a ball bearing so that it runs up and down the spine of the horse, it'll stay on the horse's back. But of course, it's going to slide off. Well, that's the actual equilibrium. It's unstable mathematically. So Ramsey assumed that you could go back in time and find the consumption level, and therefore the investment being effectively output minus consumption. Find the consumption level that puts you on the path to land on the bottom of the horse's back, in the bliss point in the far future. And they call that a jump variable. Now, that's the model that Ramsey used. So that Nordhaus uses. So in his model, you hit the bliss point in 2500, effectively. And no matter what happens to the economy, no matter how much damage occurs, and we showed this in a recent paper, which we hope will be published in Proceedings of the Royal Society in the next few months or so, we hit that with the damages of 98.4% of GDP destroyed. And it hit the bliss point in 2500. Even though only 1.4% of GDP was left. And at that point, with maximum damages, the capital to output ratio, or the output to capital, is normally about 1 to 3. If your output's $1 billion, your capital is going to be valued at $3 billion. The output to capital ratio in that was 20. Okay, so $1 of capital produces $20 of output. That was necessary to sustain the model, and the Cobb-Douglas production function happily gave you that result. So we have a completely non-physical, non-biophysical vision of how output is produced. that is essential to the results these models are returning. So if we live in a world where you don't need physical goods to produce output, everything's going to be fine.